In the middle of a frozen battlefield, with no wood, no fire, and enemy patrols scanning for any trace of smoke, soldiers still managed to eat hot meals. They did it using an invention most people today have never heard of, a simple yet powerful tool known as the heat stone. This wasn't just a trick. It was a matter of survival. During the Second World War, troops from Europe to the Pacific used special stones that could store and slowly release heat, letting them boil water, warm rations, and even bake bread without open flame. For soldiers behind enemy lines, that meant life. For us today, it's a lost survival secret worth rediscovering. So let's explore how the WWII heat stone worked, why it was so effective, and how the same ancient science can still keep you warm and fed when fire isn't an option. When war spread across Europe, soldiers quickly learned that making a fire could be a death sentence. The glow of a single ember or a trail of smoke could reveal a camp's position to snipers, bombers, or patrols. Yet rations like tinned meat, soup, and coffee needed heating. Engineers and field scientists began experimenting with methods to retain and release heat without flame. They drew inspiration from old peasant traditions. In rural Scandinavia, shepherds used soapstones heated by a morning fire to keep food warm all day. In Japan, ceramic kannabe stones were used to heat meals quietly. These age-old techniques caught military attention. The concept was simple but transformative. Heat a stone until it absorbs energy, then use it later to release that stored heat slowly and evenly. By the early 1940s, both Axis and Allied units were experimenting with portable heat stones, compact, reusable blocks of ceramic, basalt or soapstone, designed to cook or warm food silently. Some were even part of standard field kits for special operations units operating behind enemy lines. The science behind the heat stone was rooted in thermal mass, the ability of a material to absorb and store heat energy, then release it gradually over time. Soldiers would heat a dense stone or ceramic plate near an existing fire or stove before heading out. Once it reached the right temperature, they'd wrap it in cloth or place it in an insulated tin box to retain the heat. Hours later, that same stone could still be hot enough to warm canned food, boil water, or dry wet socks. The key was choosing the right material. Soapstone was favoured because it retained heat longer than ordinary rock and distributed it evenly without cracking. Basalt and granite were also used when available. Some troops even improvised using brick or ceramic roof tiles, though these were less efficient. Once the stone was hot, it could be used in a number of ways. A small pot of water placed atop a preheated stone would begin to steam within minutes. Soldiers could place tins of rations directly on it to heat them evenly. In freezing temperatures, wrapping the stone in a jacket and placing it near the chest kept body temperature stable through the night. There was no light, no smoke, and no noise. Perfect for stealth operations and survival. For frontline soldiers, especially those stationed in cold or enemy-occupied areas, heat stones became a symbol of ingenuity. British commandos in Norway used them to stay warm in snow-covered bunkers. German patrols in the Ardennes used them to thaw frozen rations without revealing their position. Japanese troops in Manchuria, facing sub-zero conditions, used ceramic stones heated from small charcoal embers hidden in trenches. Even prisoners of war found ways to use the same concept. Diaries from Stalag Luft camps mention prisoners using improvised heat stones made from scavenged clay and soot-hardened bricks, heated by smuggled candle flames. These would stay warm long enough to reheat soup or tea for hours after lights out. It was, honestly, a remarkable example of human resourcefulness under impossible conditions. Building your own heat stone setup today is both simple and practical, especially for off-grid living or stealth survival. You'll want to start with a dense, non-porous stone such as soapstone, basalt or granite. Avoid river stones. They can contain moisture that makes them explode when heated. Heat the stone slowly near an open flame, campfire or stove for about 30 to 60 minutes, depending on the size. Once heated, remove it carefully using metal tongs and wrap it in several layers of cloth or thick insulation like wool or leather. This retains the heat longer and prevents burns. To cook with it, place your pot or ration tin directly on the wrapped stone inside an insulated container. Something as simple as a wooden box, lined with straw, or honestly, a modern cooler works perfectly. The retained heat will gradually raise the temperature inside the container, cooking or warming the food silently. For sleeping warmth, you can wrap the heated stone in a thick sock or towel and place it inside your sleeping bag. It will stay warm for hours, radiating steady heat without flame. Soldiers often use this trick to prevent frostbite during winter campaigns, especially in the Eastern Front and Alpine regions. The brilliance of the WWII heat stone lies in its simplicity and sustainability. It requires no fuel beyond the initial heat source, produces zero smoke or smell, and works in any climate. For survivalists or off-grid builders, that's invaluable. In an emergency where stealth is crucial, like avoiding detection during a power outage or camping in fragile wilderness zones, heat stones provide warmth and cooking power silently. The principle also translates beautifully to modern preparedness. Soapstone bricks can be heated in wood stoves or ovens to store daytime warmth for nighttime use. In disaster recovery or remote travel, one heated stone can replace hours of open-fire cooking, saving precious fuel. This technique connects modern survival strategies directly to the ingenuity of witty soldiers who had to adapt to survive. It's proof that sometimes the most effective tools are the oldest and quietest ones, born from necessity, not technology. The WWII heat stone is more than a forgotten artifact. It's a timeless lesson in resilience and practicality. It shows that survival isn't always about weapons or advanced gear. Sometimes it's about understanding how nature itself can work for you. Soldiers once relied on these stones to stay alive when a single spark could betray their position. Today, we can learn from that same ingenuity to build quieter, safer, and more efficient ways to cook and stay warm. If this story gave you a new appreciation for the science and resourcefulness behind forgotten wartime survival tools, then don't let the knowledge fade again. Subscribe to In the Beginning for more deep-dive historical explorations. Share this with fellow history enthusiasts and preppers, and keep the spirit of discovery alive. Because, honestly, history's best lessons are often hidden in the quietest inventions.